Alright, so we'll start and move forward. I will take questions probably after the class. Maybe, I wanted to see if I can finish it off by 10:30, 10:45 today. I don't want to go past 11 o'clock. We've been doing that for last 2-3 days. So, and also, we are still on the EC2 dashboard. There is a lot of things to cover, and, there is still a lot of things left in EC2 itself. So we're going to move forward. At this point, I believe everybody is comfortable with creating instance, Linux instance, Windows instance. You have an idea about availability zones, regions, key pairs, all that things. And today, I wanted to talk about um, volumes. So volumes basically, EBS elastic block storage. Nothing big thing, but it is very important to understand what is elastic block storage, because there is a lot of confusion still. I think you guys have what is elastic block storage, what is S3 storage. We will see the difference. S3 we'll learn later. It is itself is a separate service, but EBS is the block storage, the real storage that you normally see in your data centers. It's a storage from the arrays. Before doing that, I wanted to talk about, we had some, I think Ravi or somebody asked that question about instance storage, or a storage when you shut down a server, what happens? There is this type of a storage that you lose all your data. So here is the thing that I wanted to talk. Let me explain that. So in Amazon they use Zen servers. So let's imagine this is a Zen server. This is running a Zen operating system, or Zen hypervisor, I would rather say. And this server might have some storage attached to it, just like your ESX server. This is the portion where probably the Zen operating system is installed. Just imagine this is 2 hard drives attached to this big server. This will be definitely a big server. It's something like an ESX server, which may have a 2 terabyte memory, so many processors, and it has some storage attached to it. This is called as a local storage. At the same time, if it is in your company or in Amazon, they have this external storage. This is basically the EBS block storage. We will get into that. I would put it as EBS right now here. This is elastic block storage. And this is connected through, this server will have a backend. It could be an iSCSI connection, or it could be an iSCSI connection, or a fiber channel connection, or it can be even a more faster technology called InfiniBand technology. So so this is how you connect to this external storage. So now we learned how to create instances. Just like that, I am going to create a new instance. That means I'm going to create a virtual machine here. Now this virtual machine need some hard drive. So you see the options when we launch an instance. You can select EBS volumes, correct? So let's say you want to connect a 30 gig hard disk to this instance, 30 gigabyte hard disk to this instance. When you do that, basically what happens? Can anybody tell me, when I attach a 30 gig volume to this instance, let's say this instance name is A, where is that 30 gig coming from? The 30 gig is coming from this EBS volume. So from this large pool of storage, they will give a 30 gig volume. If you attach another hard drive, let's say a second hard drive for 10 gig, That 10 gig is also going to come from somewhere here. This is a huge pool of things. That is the 10 gig hard drive. So this is called as EBS volumes. This is what it is. This EBS storage, this is actually from a storage. There are, you can get it as SSD hard drives. EBS volumes are in different types. SSD is there. Hard disk drives are there. Typical hard disks are there. Magnetic drives. Then there is something called a low performing hard disk drives are there. It is called as cold storage. So there are different type of EBS volumes are available. So when you power off this server, so let's say you store your operating system is here, your files are here, your data is here in these two drives, and when you shut down the server, all the data in these volumes will remain there. It will be stored there, and next time when you power on, you will see that. So there is another type of storage that is what we are going to talk about. It is called as instance storage. Instance storage, or sometimes it is also called as ephemeral storage. Very difficult to write. Ephemeral storage. Okay, what is that? I'll show you. So that is when you create an instance. The instance will have a drive or a root drive. Let's say this is a 10 gig. That 10 gig is getting provisioned from this local storage of this instance. So that 10 gig is actually coming from here. The advantage of that is this storage will be little more faster because this is very local to the server. So the input output operations from this VM will be much more faster. But the disadvantage is here is whenever you shut down this VM, all the data in this drive will be wiped off. It will not remain there. So next time you power on this VM, there will not be any data. So instant storage, you have to be very careful. Anything that you store in the volume. So in this same VM, you can have another hard drive. Another hard drive actually attached from this. You can have another volume from here. Let's say, a 50 gig hard drive. You can do that. So a 50 gig hard drive from here. That is fine. This is EBS volume and this is instant store volume. So when I shut down this volume, which data will go? Let's say this is your C drive and this is your D drive. The data on which drive will be lost? Everything on your C drive will be lost. So typically, I don't think Windows supports that. Microsoft Windows Server, actually Amazon do not support instant storage for Windows servers except Windows Server 2003. They have an option to create instant storage. From 2008 and upwards, they do not support instant storage. So if you are planning to build a Windows 2008 or 2012 or 2016 server, you cannot do instant storage. Instant storage is actually widely used in Linux, Unix world, Red Hat or Ubuntu or all those Linux VMs. You can actually use instant storage. It gives some good performance, but the only fact is, only problem is when you shut down, you will lose everything. So this is used in certain scenarios. This is used in certain scenarios in Hadoop clusters, in some web server configurations and all. Unix administrators, Linux administrators actually use instant storage a lot. It gives a little more better performance because it is local to storage. So in Linux and all, there is you can you can have a automatic booting. So just start the instance. So what happens is when you start an instance, the operating system, all the required files, everything will be pulled from an S3 storage. all your boot files, the required files for building that operating system will be sitting here. So there will be some scripts. The scripts will go and grab all the files that are needed, and it will boot that server with the C drive, and the server is ready and it will be configured. All this will be done through DevOps or automations, and then this web server will be ready and it will be supporting www.xyz.com, and it will be running. It can be a web server. So the website and all will be here, but the problem is when you shut down this server, entire thing will be gone. So next time when you start a new Linux instance, basically what happens is it will do the same thing. It will copy all the required boot files from external storage like S3 and then load it up. So Linux is very flexible in that. Those who know how to, create bootstrapping, that is the term called is bootstrapping a operating system. Bootstrapping. Bootstrapping is the process of building the automation of the build process. A server, when it starts from that, it needs some scripting skills and all to do that. And Linux, actually, it is pretty easy. That is what everybody says. You can always Linux, when it comes up, it will. That is why Windows does not support these type of things. But you can still do bootstrapping for Windows servers. Okay. But it works very well with Linux, and this is the beauty of Linux, and that is why Linux is widely used in Hadoop clusters and all these big big data analytics and all. You can see a lot of Linux instances are used because you don't need any stage any data or anything. You can always boot from it, and when it shut down, you lose everything. But remember, if you are ever using a instant storage, you will lose all the data when you shut down the server. So if you have any important data that you want to preserve, do not put it in instant store. So typically what Linux administrators and all they do is they only put the operating system there. They will not store any of their log files. They do not put any configuration files, nothing on the instance volume, because they know that when the server shut down, they lose everything. Okay, so that is what is instant storage. It is, it's up to you guys how you want to do it or not. I hope you guys got an idea of what is instant store. Now, I just want to quickly show you, if you create an instance here, let it be a Linux or anything, you will not see an option to create, see here, there is no option to put instance. So when you create the normal process, it is always going to be EBS backed volume. It is going to be general purpose SSD or all these type of magnetic volume. These are all EBS volumes, elastic block storage volumes. You will not be able to attach or create an instance with an instant storage. If you want that instant storage, that means the local storage of the hypervisor, local storage of the server. There are some limitations also. If you have a local storage, the VM cannot move. You cannot do vMotion and things like that. So there are some limitations there also with instant store. Those who know VMware know that. Why? Because this is the thing. I'll show you that also. So I have an ESX server here. I have another ESX server here. And I have another ESX server here. And let's imagine I have a Ebs Block Storage here, which is a shared storage. All these servers are connected to this storage. So I have a VM, which is here, and this VM has a hard drive. Let's say it's a 10 gig hard drive, and that 10 gig hard drive is sitting here in this Ebs Block Storage. So this is the 10 gig hard drive. So now I can move this VM to here. When I move this VM to here, the VM can still work because the storage is here. It is a shared storage. I can move the VM to here. It will still work because this server can also see that storage. This server can also see that storage. This guy can also see the storage. So that's why it's called as a shared storage. So since the storage is available to all these servers, you can move the VM from one server to another server and it works. But look at the problem with instant storage. If you have an instance storage, that means you have a VM, and the VM is having a hard disk which is actually just local to that box only. In this scenario, this VM is attached to that storage. Can I move this VM to here? Can I move this VM to this server? Yes or no?
No.
I cannot, because this server cannot see the storage. This server do not have any access. This is local. No, this is local to this server only. And that is a drawback also. But the problem that we are talking is anything that you store on instant storage will be wiped off. That is all you need to worry about now. But there are other drawbacks also for having a local storage. Okay.
I am actually confused. Hello?
Yeah, who is this?
This is Ravi.
Yeah. What is your confusion?
You said we can move one VM from one server to another server, right? Because it's an EBS storage shared one.
Yes.
And then you have an instant storage within that same VM, right? So when you move that VM, the instant storage also goes with that.
Okay, so this is a server, okay, an HP server running ESX operating system. I'm just putting ESX here. This server, the HP server, has a hard drive, which is a, let's say, 500 gig hard drive. There is another HP server here. This server also has a 500 gig hard drive. Now tell me, let's say this is ESX server 1 and this is ESX server 2. Can ESX server 2 see the hard drive of ESX 1? That is my question to you.
What did you say?
Can this server ESX 2 can see the hard drive of ESX 1?
No.
Why? Because they are two different servers. They are two different servers, correct?
Yes, yes.
Whereas when you have an external storage like EBS or storage array like, you know, VMAX or VNX or something, it is shared between both servers. Now both these guys can see the storage, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So now here what I'm doing is I'm creating a VM here, but that VM's hard drive, the VM will have a hard drive, correct?
Yeah.
And that hard drive is sitting here.
Okay.
Now can you move this VM to here?
Yeah.
You cannot move that VM to here because the hard drive is sitting here in this hard drive. This server cannot see that. So when you try to move it, I mean, you can migrate it, okay? When you shut down, you can migrate, but you cannot do a vMotion. That is what I'm saying, okay? If you power off this VM, you can migrate this data to here. That is all possible. But normal vMotions won't work out, okay? vMotion is the process of migrating a live server, running server from here to here. That won't happen. When you try to do that, this server will say, hey, you know what? I cannot see the hard drive. It will say. So it will fail.
Because it will lose its hard drive, yeah.
Okay?
I have a question here. Zen server support vMotion?
What is that?
Zen server support vMotion?
Yes, they don't call it as vMotion. They have something called as X motion or something like that. That's the name. Yeah, they do support it, and they are actually doing that. We don't even know. Yes, they do support that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Hold on 1 second, okay? Yeah, sorry guys. All right, so that is EBS storage and ephemeral storage. Now what I'm going to show you now is, I wanted to quickly move from here. You guys can try it out. I want to show you how do you build a server with ephemeral storage or an instant storage. So there is a type of, the way you need to do is little tricky. and that is what I'm going to show. Now you guys can try it out. I myself have never really tried to deploy that because in my environments we don't use any instances with instant storage because we want to have all our data to be preserved, persistent, so we don't use that. If your company is doing more of automation and stuff like that, probably it will be used heavily, okay, but I am not myself do it, but I will show you how to do that. So what you need to do is go to your instance EC2, you click on launch instance, okay, and then you go to sorry, basically you can go here to the EC2 here, and then you say, where do you do that? Running instances here, and you say launch instance, and then you go to the AMIs. Not there, man. I just missed that. How do I do that? Hold on 1 second. Okay, yeah, this is how you need to do it. You go to the EC2 instance and click on AMIs. Okay, click on AMIs, and then you need to do is you need to do here. You come here and select. On the here, there is 3 types. So we're going to learn AMIs today. Amazon Machine Images, and we are using AMIs to deploy the instances. You go to public images, and then you go to the public images, you do a filtering. You have to do a filtering here, and you come here and call it as root device type. So the root device can be EBS or root device can be instant store. These are the 2 types of volumes we're talking about. So root device type, and then you will get the type EBS or instant store. What do you want? We want instant store, correct? So you select on instant store, so you can see all the AMIs that are supported by instant store. Now you deploy an instance from this AMIs, it will be having a local storage, which is an ephemeral storage, which will be an instant storage, and you can use it. So you can see that Amazon only supports Linux, but there is some Windows, but as I said, they only support Windows, which is Windows 2003. Any operating systems of Windows above 2003, that means from 2008 onwards, it does not support instant store volume. But if you really want to have a Windows server with an instant store, then you need to deploy a 2003 server. But all other Linux instances do support instant store. So everybody understand that, right? How to create an instant store backed instance. If you want to create an instance with a ephemeral storage or an instant store, then you need to do this. You go to the AMIs, select public images, then select the root device type as instant store. That you can do it, actually it's a filter. You come here and say root device type, you select it as instant store, and then from there you can actually pick up the correct AMI you want. Okay, so try that out. You can actually do that. Now bundle task is like if you want to create your own AMI that supports instant store, you need to use this bundle task. You can actually go to the here creating an instant store backed Windows AMI. If you want to create your own AMI, that is just like we went and saw the AMIs there, right? They are pre-created by somebody, or maybe Amazon provided, maybe somebody provided, but you said, okay, I want to have my own instant store backed AMI, then you can follow these steps. It's not that I'm not going to do that, we don't have time, but you can actually do that. So this is exactly what you need to do. You go to the AMI section, filter it with the public images, instant store image, just like what you did, then select Windows Server, then launch that instance, and once you launch that instance, you can install your software, install your data, whatever you want, you do it. So now you have a server that has all the data with that you wanted, and then you can convert that into an AMI, and the steps for doing that is right here. You have to You have to do that. Once you do all that things, then you can copy that stuff into S3. And then next time you launch it, but when you power off, all the data will be gone, but next time it will be a new server coming up from there. So you can go to S3 console and do that. So please try this if you want. I will just put the chat when the link here. Try it out. You can do that actually. Okay, so this is how you can create it. It is not that difficult, but the steps are clearly mentioned. If I try to do this, it will take some time, but I would say you wait for doing this. You can try this after a week or so, because you still don't know what is S3. You don't know what is a bucket, how to create bucket, how to permission the buckets. So there are certain things that you still need to learn in order to understand the whole process. So I would say you wait for this, but if you want to create your own instance store backed VMs instances, then you need to follow that steps. Okay. All right. So now what we're going to do is, I want to talk quickly about EBS volumes. You know that when we create an instance, you come here and you come to this section, and here you can see, a volume. So there are different types of general purpose SSD, GP2.
One question I have.
Yeah.
Arian?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we create our own AMI, it have to be the ephemeral storage or storage.
No, I mean, I was just talking about ephemeral. We're going to create our own AMIs. We're going to do that, and that is what we see. 99% people going to create AMIs with EBS only. Okay, and we're going to do that now. And that is actually, so ephemeral is just a small section, and since somebody asked me, normally I don't talk about that in the class. I normally skip that because I don't see much people using that, but I know Ravi or somebody asked me about this. Okay, there is some storage that I heard that it is not persistent, the data will be lost. So I wanted to make everybody clear distinction between these two different types, and that is why I told. And the link that I provided is to create an AMI with an instance store. Okay, but 99% people create AMIs using EBS, and we will be doing that in a minute. Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, so there are different types of storage. So let us go and look at EBS a little bit, about EBS volumes. All right, I have it here. So Amazon Elastic Block Storage, and it is clearly mentioned here, persistent block storage for Amazon EC2. That is what is EBS stands for, Elastic Block Storage. So Amazon Elastic Block Storage provides persistent block storage volumes for use within EC2 instances in AWS Cloud. So look at this. Each Amazon EBS volume is automatically replicated within its availability zone to protect you from component failures, offering high availability and durability. Now remember, I mentioned in our last class that if you have a region, and in that region you have multiple availability zones, and you have an instance here, and you have a EBS volume here, you have an EBS volume here, or not the volume, EBS store here, and you have a volume here. Can you attach this volume X to volume to instance A? Is it possible to attach this X volume to this instance A?
No.
Anybody? These are all different availability zones. This is 1-A, this is 1-C, and this is 1-D. These are three different availability zones.
You can.
Yes,
Can
you
I?
should be.
You can attach. No, you can.
Okay, can you please
No,
type your responses in the chat window so I know?
Can you repeat the question,
How many?
please?
Okay, question is, I have a volume here. Okay, you can create a volume, correct? A hard disk, correct? You create a hard
Yes.
disk, and that hard disk is created in this availability zone. But I have a instance here, and I want to attach this instance to this volume. Is it possible or not is my question.
No, it is not possible.
Okay. Most of you guys saying no. One person saying yes, we can do the same region. Okay, so this is not in same region. I told you, not region, it is availability zone. The availability zone is a physical data. So this is absolutely not possible. And this is the same case with one more thing. Can anybody tell me what is the other thing? And that is what we discussed in the last class, like a network card, right?
Network cards.
You create a network card in this, it is called as ENI, Elastic Network Interface. Can you attach this ENI to here?
No.
No, it is not possible because it is in other availability zone, correct? Alright, so that is not possible. Now what I am telling is, so if you create a volume here, it can attach, okay? This is possible. Now what Amazon is saying in that statement that I was reading is, in order to provide the highest durability and availability, Amazon is replicating this data across multiple arrays, maybe 3 or 4 storage arrays. They are replicating your same data here and same data here. So even if something goes wrong here, your data is still protected. You see that? They have different storage arrays in the same availability zone, and they replicate that data between them so that even if a component failure happens here, your data is still protected. Now, they may be doing different things. They may be doing different RAID technologies. They may be doing some thing, but it is not replicated across the arrays. It is not. Are you all following me? It is not replicated across the regions. Sorry, across the availability zones. It's all happening within the region. It is not across the availability zone. Within the availability zone, they replicate the data between multiple storage arrays so that your data is available. So that is Amazon is, and they are providing 99.999, I think 4 nines of durability and availability they are offering for this service for Ebs Block Storage. Highly durable, highly available, redundant storage technology. Is it clear for everybody? And that is exactly what is mentioned in that document that I was just reading. So here, now let's read it again one more time. Let's go and read this one more time. Look here. Each Amazon EBS volume, that means when you create a volume, is automatically replicated within its availability zone, okay, to protect you from component failures. That is what I said. Is that clear? So offering high availability and durability. Okay. Not only that, EBS volumes are, array-based, storage array-based, it could be VMAX or VNX. I don't know what storage arrays they use, but they have some storage arrays in the backend. They definitely provide consistent low latency performance needed to run your workload. So they are high performance storage disk, and they can perform at any level of performance that you want. Even if you want to put high-end databases, these EBS can support it. Okay.
What if an availability zone goes down? What if something happens?
If an availability zone goes down, you are done. Your data is gone. I mean, your things are gone. That is why Amazon is saying 99.99 only availability. If that is why they say when you build a server, don't put everything in one availability zone. If you want that, you have to build that availability or high availability by building 2 servers in 2 availability zones. Amazon is not guaranteeing the chance for an availability zone going down is the chance for a data center of Amazon is going down. The entire data center. That is like a very rare chance, but it can happen. If that happens, your data is gone for sure. That is the same thing in your current data center. Your company is having a huge data center in New York City. What happens if that New York data center goes? If that data center is being bombed by somebody, the entire data is gone, the servers are gone, the VMs are gone, your company is down. If your company wanted to continue to run, what your company normally do? they will build the same set of servers in Atlanta, right? In another data.
Generally, we have like a DR, right?
Yeah, that is not DR. DR is a different. DR is I mean, DR is the companies do not have a good active infrastructure. You know, nowadays with newer technology and all, you really don't need a DR. You know, for example, in some of my configurations I'm talking about, I just want to show you. We have a data center in Boston. We have a data center in New York. And when I build a application server or a web server, let's say if, you know, we're building a web server called bankofamerica.com. Okay, BOFA.com. This is a website, and we have a web server here that runs BOFA.com, and we have another web server that is running here, BOFA.com, and we will be load balancing them using some kind of a load balancer. It could be an F5 load balancer or something, I'm just saying. Now this is running BOFA, this is running bankofamerica.com, and in F5 load balancer, those who know load balancer, you know you can write so many I rules, you can create so many different types of connection types. You know, you can have round robin, you can have sticky connection, you can have cookie persistent connection. There are so many different ways you can have connection. So when 20 people are coming to bankofamerica.com, what does the load balancer do is load balancer will send 10 people to here and 10 people to here. But what happens if this Boston data center goes down? If the Boston data center goes down, the entire data center is went down. Do you think bankofamerica.com is down?
No.
Bankofamerica.com is not down because the load balancer will now send all the 20 people to New York. It will still work. So this is the beauty of load balancer. I mean, I'm just saying a simple example. So this is not, in this case, do I need a DR? I mean, somebody asked me, in this case, do I need to have a DR solution for this if I can work like this?
No.
Okay, so that's the thing. But there are, you know, situations where you cannot do applications like this. That is when you look at DR and things like that. But, you know, that is more of advanced stages. You know, there are different ways you can do it. I think that is outside the scope of this class now. But answer to your question is there are many ways. If you cannot do something like this, then you need to have some kind of a backup and restore kind of method. That is what DR do. DR might probably replicate. You can back up and restore. There are things, and we will see that how we can do that in Amazon also. Okay, I will show you. If you want that type of a DR, then I will explain how to do that in Amazon. Okay. So let's come to the features of EBS. These are things, you know, you don't need to by heart all these things, but, you know, there is a lot of information here. I would definitely, if you want to know the internals of this, I would say strongly you need to definitely read. There is a whole lot of things about this here. So it is high performance volumes. These are volumes. These are block level storage volumes, and they are high performance storage. You know, you can have SSD backed hard drives. You can have normal magnetic hard drives that can deliver performance you need for your most demanding. If you want to read more about this, I would say, you know, you go and read about all these things. I'm not going to do that, but if you go here, you know, they will be talking about EBS, different type of volume types. We will come here, you know, you can see different volume size, different IOPS. You can get whatever you want. Only thing is you need to pay money for it. Okay, Amazon EBS product details, and you can see that here is the availability. They are saying 99.99. It's only 3 nines. Whereas S3 storage, anybody remember how many nines are there in S3?
11.
11 nines. So that
11
you can
nines.
see the number, you know, it is only 99.9. That is the level of availability. Amazon is saying S3 is much more durable, and availability perspective that is much more. But here they are only putting 3 nines. But still it is available because of that question. You know, if one availability zone is gone, then there is no guarantee. Amazon cannot guarantee that you will lose your data. So let's go back to our thing. So it is high performance volumes. Availability, it is here. Yeah, each EBS volume is designed for 99 point availability, and because of automatically they replicate within its availability zone. That is the key there. Okay, it is only replicate within the availability zone, not across the availability zone. If they could have done that, across the availability zones, then I'm sure this 9 would have been 10 nines. You getting what I'm saying? This would have been 10 or 11 nines if they could have done between availability zones, but they are not able to do that, or they are not doing it. I would say they are not doing it, and because of that, it is only having that. You can encrypt the data. This is called data at rest. Very, very interesting topic nowadays, very hot topic. There is a key management service itself offered by Amazon where you can put, so you might, when you go to bankofamerica.com or, wellsfargo.com and you do your transaction, what is the protocol that you use to do secure communication?
HTTPS.
HTTPS, correct? There is a certificate, again it is a public key and a private key, and there is an encryption. So all the data that is going between or through the HTTPS is actually encrypted, correct? Only the people who have the certificate. That is what, if you go to bankofamerica.com, you can see that it is actually HTTPS. You can see that, if you click on the certificate, you can see the trust certificate, you can see the, I don't know where it is, it went. You can actually see the certificate here. It should be somewhere here actually. So you can, VeriSign has identified this site as Bank of Community. Should you try this server? You can actually see the certificate here. I don't know now. Let's see. You should be able to see that certificate. I mean, I think you guys might have seen that certificate, right? You can see the certificate. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. You can get the certificate and you can see that. But that is called data encryption in transit. There are two type of things are there. One is encryption in transit, and the other one we are talking about is encryption at rest. That means when you have a data sitting in a hard disk, you have a Word document, your resume is sitting here, is it encrypted? If somebody can gain access to this hard disk, they can copy that into a USB drive and they can go to wherever they want and open that file. Yes, isn't it? If somebody gets your hard drive, what happens? They can take all your data, correct? Or if I can get access to your computer for 10 minutes and I can copy all your files from that to a USB drive and I can take it, correct? But nowadays, that is not the case. You can even encrypt the data on rest, the data that is sitting here. So if you copy that out from there and put it in your USB drive and you happily go to your house and you try to attach your USB drive to your computer and you expecting that you can see all the files, you will see garbage here. You will not be able to open that because these files are encrypted. Only when you have the appropriate keys you can open that. This is great. This is what a lot of companies had concerns about it. Because they are putting their confidential data in Amazon. It is a shared storage. It is sitting with many other companies' data because it's a shared storage. Citibank's data will be there in the same storage array where Goldman Sachs data is sitting there. So companies were having concerns on that. So now the option is you can encrypt your data. You can use your own encryption keys and encrypt it, or you can use Amazon provided keys to encrypt it. There are many ways to do encryption. Encryption itself is a big topic here. I will just touch that, but I won't be talking a lot about it, but it is very, very important thing. And when you do encryption, you have to decrypt it. You have to encrypt the data, and then if you want to read it, you have to decrypt the data. So there has to be some mathematical calculations and all those things can happen. So there will be some kind of a delay happens during that encryption decryption. It could affect the performance of your, so if your applications are very sensitive and it needs the highest level of performance, encryption can bring some kind of a delay there. So you got to keep that in mind. But that is why in the past people never wanted to really encrypt the data at rest. And normally I don't think companies do encryption at rest in their own data centers, because in my data center I manage the server, my employees manage the storage. I'm 100% sure that there is no other company's data in our storage arrays, so there is really no need to encrypt it. But that is not the case when you go to a public cloud like Amazon. You don't know who is accessing it, who can see it. You don't even know whether an Amazon employee can take your confidential. Maybe you have some very confidential, your private photos in your storage. Just imagine, forget about company business data. You have some personal data. Just imagine you're putting your very highly confidential pictures or photos you are putting in Dropbox. Is it really secured? Somebody from Dropbox could possibly take it, right? You think that nobody will take it, but in the back end there is storage guys, and he can at least go and open it and see what is inside that. You are sitting there, they can see your nice face and all that picture. If you don't want to see that, then you need to encrypt that. But there is a cost associated with it. That is actually, one is in the form of a penalty or a performance impact. But anyway, right now technology has improved. Amazon's encryption technology has improved a lot, and Amazon is in fact requesting everybody to encrypt the data that you are putting. So if you have such concerns, I would recommend you to encrypt the data. And you see that when we deploy the servers, there is an option to encrypt the volumes, correct? Access management is, when you have a volume, and you know that the volumes are here, when you go to your server, and I think I showed you, when you go to EC2 and you have these volumes, that is the volumes tab, you can go to here, you can see the hard drives, and we did see that these are the volumes. So you can actually set the volumes, and you can actually configure certain policies that who can actually access those volumes and things like that. There are policies where who can actually really see it. Your network admins may not be able to reach here. Your normal users may not be able to click on this volume. They will not even see this. If they cannot see this, they cannot take any actions like detach volume, create snapshot, image. They cannot do any of those things. So you can have some policies and custom rules to do access management. Who can see that? So that is also possible on thing. And the last thing is actually snapshots, and we will see what snapshots. Snapshots are something like a point in time state of your hard drive. You can take that as a backups, and highly and heavily used technology in Amazon. If you want to have backups, snapshots are the answers for Amazon instances. You can take backup. So I would say, these things you may want to click on the details tab, and you want to understand key features, how EBS snapshot work. We will do snapshot. I'll show you how to do it. But if you want to know the more detailed things, I don't think you need to really go into that level, unless otherwise you are going for a architectural level engineering job interviews. They might ask you some detailed stuff. So I would say it is definitely a good thing to read it. I myself have gone, but I cannot go through all the things, but it is very clearly mentioned here what you can do, what is the size of region, how you can create snapshot, where you can do it, all that things. Okay.
What about the certification? They're going to ask a lot about it or not really?
No, the certification part, they might ask a little thing. That's why I'm saying you may want to read a little bit on it. I will share you the documents, so when you see the official course curriculum, I think I told you I'll be sharing these documents with you guys in a couple of days. Okay, these are Amazon's official thing, and I'm not supposed to share it, but this is the official certification documentation. If it is mentioned here, then I would say you may want to read it. Okay, if it is not, I don't think they will cover it. But it is always good to know a little bit more about all these things. There will be more stuff always hidden there. So just this is not, I would not say, if you're going for a certification, I would probably ask you to. There is nothing more here. There is nothing. The concept is same. We will be doing it, but there are certain things that you get it when you read that stuff. That's what I'm saying. So please do that. Now coming to the benefits of the thing, it is a reliable and secure storage, consistent and low latency and performance. It is very consistent. If you say 100 IOPS per second, then you will get 100 IOPS. That is guaranteed. If you need 1000 IOPS per second, you're going to put a high-end database server and you want to have certain level of IOPS. IOPS means input output service, seconds per second, input output per second. That is what per second, how many reads and writes you can do it. The more you can do, better performance. In EBS, it is consistent. That means once they say, okay, you get 1000 IOPS, you get 1000 IOPS, but you have to pay for it. It is not free. You can use backup, restore, and innovate, and you can do a lot of things. You can scale up and scale. You can increase the hard disk volume. You can decrease the volume. You can resize the volume. A lot of things you can do it. We will see that in a minute. And geographic flexibility, just like somebody asked me, DR capabilities, you can take snapshots, you can take EBS snapshots, and then you can replicate the data to different regions. Forget about different availability zones. You can take snapshots and then you can replicate that data to different regions. So if you have a hard disk and you want it for a disaster recovery, you want to send it to Singapore, you can do that. So snapshots will give you those capabilities, and it gives the optimized performance. So these are all the things I would recommend you to actually go to AmazonEBS.com and definitely read these things. The pricing is actually here, the pricing for EBS. Little more details are here. I'm not going to get here, but there are different type. SSD is actually, I said, solid state. This is the default when you build any Amazon instance. The default volume is SSD, solid state drives. GP2 stands for general purpose servers. Okay. Now that is 10 cents per gigabyte for a month. Okay, it's 10 cents per gigabyte. So let me ask you something. You created a server with a 10 gig hard drive. Now you deleted that hard drive after 5 hours. Do you have to pay for 1 month, or you need to pay only for 5 hours?
5 hours?
It's a monthly wise, so you have to pay.
The monthly wise month.
It's monthly wise, so you have to pay. See here, there is an example they are saying. They are giving an example. So there is a 2000 gigabyte volume. Somebody provisioned a 2 terabyte volume for 12 hours in a 30-day month. Okay, in a 30-day month period. It's month, if it is 31 days, it is 31 days. They are talking about if it is February, it is 29 days, so 28 days. So 30-day month, somebody created a volume for 2000 gigabytes. They're going to get charged $3.33. How is it? Look at it. 10 cents into 2000 into 12 hours by 24 in a 30-day month. So you can see that it is calculated by into 30 days. So you have to pay for the whole 30 months. Whether you delete after 1 hour or 2 hours, once you provision it, you will be charged for 1 month. Okay. So keep that in mind. You may say, oh, okay, I created it and then I deleted it after 2 hours, but that's okay. My Amazon will definitely going to charge you for a month. You delete or not. Okay. So that is SSD. Now there is something called as, that is general purpose SSD. You see that general purpose SSD. That means general purpose SSDs are little different from provisioned IOPS SSD. Can anybody tell me what is the difference between a general purpose SSD and a provision? These are things that you really need to know when you are building an instance. For example, when you are here and you're creating a volume, you can have default is general purpose SSD. It gives you can see that IOPS, 100 gigs will give you 300 IOPS, but it can go up to 3000 IOPS. That is the maximum. So it's basically, there is a thumb rule. It is basically minimum is 100 IOPS. Any volume you create, whether it is 1 gig volume or 10 gig volume or 100 gig volume, the minimum IOPS is 100. But more than that, it is actually calculated 3 IOPS per gigabyte. So if I create a 100 gig volume, you basically get 3 IOPS per gig. So that is why you are seeing 300 gigs. Okay. But if I create a 10 gig volume, you still get, how can anybody tell me, if I create a 10 gig volume, what will be my IOPS?
30.
Okay. For the math, that is correct. 3 IOPS into 10, correct? But I told you minimum is 100 IOPS. So you get 100 for sure. Even if it is 3 gig or 10 gig, you get 100. But more than that, it will be 3 IOPS per gigabyte. Okay, so keep that in mind. But that is not the kick. I am creating this hard disk, a 100 gig hard disk, to put one of my most powerful SQL server or Oracle server. I need to have 2000 IOPS per second for this volume. If I go with general purpose, do I get it? I won't get that 2000 because in general purpose for 100 gig maximum you get is 300 with a bursting size of 300, but means in between, a burstable up to 3 or 3. Burstable means once in a while it can go 3000, but consistent, it is not consistent. You want consistent performance. You want consistent IOPS. If you want to do that, you have to go to provisioned IOPS. When you go to provisioned IOPS, you can put whatever you want. You can go up to 20,000 IOPS if you want. So if you want 5,000 IOPS, you can put that. So do you think provisioned IOPS is costlier than general purpose, or which one will be costlier?
Provision.
Absolutely, provisioned will be costlier, but it will give you consistent high performance storage at the back end. So Amazon may have different tiers. Those who know VMware also know that big companies they have different storage arrays. So even in my company we have storage arrays. These are probably a VNX storage array. We have other storage arrays that are VMAX storage arrays. These are all different things. We have something like the latest all-flash Unity arrays, things like that. So this is little old. This is a different type. This is like a tiered storage. This is a all-flash. Which one will be the fastest? This will be the fastest. So depending on what you are paying. So we normally call it as this is bronze, this is silver, and this is gold. So okay, so if Elton's department is going to pay me X amount of money, and then I will give you a storage here. If Ali Baker's company is giving me a department is giving a little money, and then I will give him something like this here. So depending, the same concept is what Amazon is using. Depending on what you're saying, if you're going for general purpose, you will be probably getting storage from here. If you're going for provisioned IOPS, and then you may be getting from here. So it depends on that. Okay. So depending on that, Amazon has different type of EBS volumes, and they will be giving you storage from there. So that is what is provisioned IOPS. So these both are SSDs, but at the same time they also have a hard disk and cold and all those things are also available. These are some things. So when you create a volume, you can also go to cold. You may want to read this little bit more. There is nothing much here, but see, they won't ask you the details of this, but somebody asks you what are the different type of volume types. All these things you should know. They might ask you anything from here. Okay, select, it may be a multiple choice question. Select all the different type of volume types in EBS. Then you need to select all these and you need to know what it is. Magnetic is normal hard disk. If you put magnetic, the price will be cheap. You can see that no IOPS are available. There will be a minimum amount of IOPS, but you cannot say that. Then there is actually cold options. Are cold is even maybe something like a SATA drives or something. It will be very cold, but the beauty of that is it is very, very, very cheap. Look at the pricing here for that. You can see that the pricing for cold is like 0.025 per gigabyte compared to 10 cents per gigabyte. You see the difference? And also EBS throughput optimized hard disk volumes are 0.045 magnetic drives. and snapshots. When you take snapshot, we'll learn snapshots a little later, but you see that as and provisioned IOPS is actually 125% per gigabyte. So you see the pricing difference, and also the provisioned IOPS is also has a higher per gigabyte, and also per provisioned IOPS per month. If you have 1,000 IOPS, it is actually 0.65. They charge some additional money for that IOPS also. So these things can cost you money. You need to have a good understanding about what type of storage you're depending, and also it is region specific. The price can change depending on which region you are using, and it is very important to understand the difference between these type of storage, because you don't want your application team or application owners to come back and tell that the VM or the instance that you provided is slow and crappy. So depending on what the application need, depending on what the business need, depending on the workload, you as a cloud administrator should make a decision, okay, whether I should give a general purpose SSD, or whether I should go with the provisioned IOPS, or can I use normal thing. Each has its own impact. Cost is definitely the big factor. So if cost is a factor, then you can go for magnetic. Up until last year, 2 years back, Amazon's default hard disk was throughput optimized hard disk, magnetic, but they changed that to SSD from 2 years back. From 2 years onwards, the default hard disk that they provide is solid state. Everything is solid state drive. So that itself gives you a lot of good performance, and on top of it you can go for provisioned IOPS. Okay, and the detail, that is what I told you, it is all clearly mentioned here.
Can we change it, like once you select general purpose, and after a while if I want to go to provision?
You can. So at that time we'll go through all that when we do the lab in a minute. So you go here, and also I would strongly recommend you guys to go here and look at this FAQ section. Most of your questions will be answered here. Which volume I should choose? I always try to read these FAQs. They are very useful. So every topic will have an Amazon FAQ. So try to read these FAQs that count. Everything is actually, I'm feeling sleepy, man, so I don't know what happens. So every topic is clearly mentioned here. So you can talk about encryption, you can do encryption, key management. So this is what I said, Amazon key management service, what it is. It is Amazon's provided key management. So try to read this, and also the billing and metering, how they're billing, how they do that, all that things are clearly mentioned here. Okay, cool. So that is EBS volumes. So so let's go and play around with the volumes a minute. So we have a server here, a Windows instance here, and this instance is something that we build on that as a 2016 server. If you look at it, that server has 2 volumes, a root device and another drive. If you want to know the details, you can go to the volumes, and that 2 storage volumes are here. So this is a 30 gig drive and a 15 gig drive. These are the 2 drives that are attached to server 002. You can see the instance IDs here. This is the root drive, and this is your C D drive. Okay, so I'm going to actually connect to that server. I think I have already connected to that server here. This is that Windows server. And if I go to the computer management in Windows Server and you go to the disk management, I hope most of you know Windows servers. If you go to the, I think everybody is familiar with this. You can see that the server has a 2 hard drive, a 30 gig C drive and a 15 gig D drive. So I'm actually going to the D drive. Look at what I'm going to do now. I just wanted to show you some lab exercises here. I'm going to the D drive, and I'm going to create a folder called class 10. Now I'm going to.
Is this from the snapshot, or you directly logged into a separate server?
I am on the server.
Okay. I thought it was like a snapshot.
No snapshot. This is a actual server. So I'm creating a file here on that D drive of that server, and you can see that that folder is created on the D drive of the server. So if I shut down this server, do I lose this data or anything? If I shut down this server, no, it won't go, because these are persistent storage. These are EBS blocks, correct? You will not lose the data. But what I wanted to show you here is, so this is a Windows server. You see here the Windows server is here, and I want to show you how smart this Windows server is. When the server is running, I'm just going to show you here. Okay, let's see this. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to detach that drive, okay? See here what I'm going to do. This is that D drive, and I'm going to say detach volume. What am I going to do? I'm going to pull that hard drive from the server. You see what happens, okay? Detach volume and detach. And you see now what happens here in the Windows server. It lost the D drive. I lost that D drive. There is no more D drive here. You see that? If you go to the PC, you will only see a C drive here. Now that is the D drive where I created a folder called class 10. I created a text file called class 10 dot thing and things like that. What happens to that wall data? Is it gone?
Be in C drive.
I created in D drive.
It's gone.
The data should be still there.
Okay. My question is, did I lose that data?
Yes.
No.
No.
Okay, then where is it?
I think it depends on what kind of option we selected.
No, no option, guys. So that was an EBS. That was an EBS volume, elastic block storage, correct? So the data that is returned to that storage is persistent. It will never go as long as I can locate that volume. I didn't delete the volume. All I did is actually I just detached that volume from the drive. See here, it lost the association. Attachment is gone. That the volume is still sitting here, 15 gig drive.
If you,
So if I can come here, I can attach it back to that instance server to running. I will get that data back. See here, I'm just attaching it back, and now you see what happens. It will come up. The D drive will come up here now in a minute.
కాదు నేను చికెన్ కాదు మటన్ తింటున్నాను.
Okay, my man, mutton and all will talk. Can you please mute?
రోటీ ముక్కలు కాదు మటన్ ఓన్లీ.
Who is talking? I cannot see here who is talking. Hey guys, whoever is cooking, please mute, okay? So I can stay. I just enable that volume. And now you can see the D drive has come back. All I did is just attach it. Now my question is, do you think you will see that class 10 folder and the file I created?
Yes, we should see it.
Okay, let's see. Okay, it is there. And the file is there. Correct? So that is one of the thing, I just wanted to show you. So you can detach and attach volumes here.
Okay, one question. So it has to be the same server, or I can connect to any other server and get the file?
Good question. So you can actually, once it is detached, you cannot attach one volume to two servers at the same time, but you can detach it and attach it to any other Windows server, and they will all see that file. So you can definitely attach it to another server within that availability zone.
Okay, thank you.
Now we're going to talk about snapshots. So I told you snapshot is like a backup. This is the backup technology in Amazon. Amazon provided, there is no other backup solutions Amazon is providing. The backup method Amazon is telling is snapshots. But there are third-party products like Commvault, CPM, Many companies, Net Backup and everybody, TSM and all, they all have different methods to backup Amazon-based instances, but they all use snapshots to do that. So if you want third-party softwares, you could do that, and I will show you one company that you can use it in a minute. But you can, Amazon's recommended way of backing up server is taking a snapshot. And we did see the pricing of snapshot. Snapshot pricing is around 0.005 cents per gigabyte. So what happens when you take a snapshot? A snapshot is like a point in time state of a hard disk. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to get into the detail of it. I'm actually going to take a snapshot of this D drive. What is there in this D drive now? What is the size of D drive? First of all, tell me. What is the size of the D drive of server 2? 15 gig, correct? Are you paying for 15 gig or are you paying only for the amount of data that you're using? In that D drive, actually speaking, in that D drive, you are only using, your usable space is actually only, how much you're using? Maybe in KBs, you're using only 53.8 MB. That is all you're using, correct? That is because of some metadata and all, but that is all you're using, and remaining 14.9 gigabyte is free. But you have to still pay for how many? You have to pay for only 53 MB or you have to pay for the whole?
You have to pay for the whole volume.
You have to pay for
I think depending on the thin provisioning or...
Okay, thin provisioning and all is in VMware concept, but in Amazon, once you provision a EBS volume, you have to pay for the entire volume no matter you use it or not. So if you have a 15 gig volume, you have to pay for 15 gig. Okay. Now I am going to take a snapshot of this. How do we do a snapshot? So here is the thing, right click and you can say create a snapshot. So I'm going to create a snapshot of that volume, only for that volume, okay? In VMware, you can create a snapshot of a VM. You can take the entire VM snapshot. In Amazon, that is not possible. You can only snapshot individual disk. You cannot snapshot the entire VM, okay? We will come back there and talk a little further on that. But right now, understand, you can only snapshot individual hard drives. So I'm going to create a name called snap dash D dash drive dash server 002. Okay. That is the name of the snapshot. I'm giving it a description called a snapshot of the D drive from server 002, and I'm going to create it. I'm creating a snapshot. You can see that snapshot creation started. It is a process, and if you look at the snapshots here, you can see that it is creating a snapshot right now. Here you can creating a snapshot, and the size, it says 15 gigabyte. We'll see that, and I wanted to talk a little bit about, I'm creating a snapshot of that drive, and we'll see, it will not take much time, it will create pretty fast. I mean, everybody is following me, right? If you guys are not understanding, because there are so many people in the class, so I cannot go to each one of you to ask, or if you don't understand, please ask, okay? And I don't have a problem repeating it. So I'm just saying, all the people who are muted and being quiet, I hope you guys are understanding it. Don't blame me later if you don't understand it, but as I said, it's only like the crying baby gets the milk. Please ask questions if you are not understanding, okay, or if you have any questions. And if you don't understand these things, going forward is going to get tough, because most things are related to other things. So we created a snapshot, and when you create a snapshot, you can see the snapshot has some thing, its capacity is 15 gig and things like that. There are certain properties here. It says which volumes snapshot is that. So the first thing I want to talk about is When you create a snapshot,
Can we preview this?
what is that?
Can we preview this snapshot?
No, you cannot. So when you create a snapshot, even though it says the actual size, the size here it says is the actual size of the drive, it doesn't tell the real size of the snapshot, first of all. Okay, keep that in mind. I am telling you, in reality, the size of this snapshot is probably around 100 MB or maybe 55 MB. What was the real data in that drive? 58 MB, correct? So a snapshot is a compressed file of only the real data, but here this 15 gig means it is the volume size is what they are showing. It is not the real size of the snapshot. So snapshots are very, very compressed and it is only the real data. And where is this snapshot stored? That is the key thing. Where is this snapshot actually stored? Anybody?
Same ABS or?
Okay.
Can say copies EBS, same copies EBS?
No. So actually snapshots are actually stored in S3. So here is what I'm going to show you. I'm going to go back here. So I'm going to draw this Virginia region. And in Virginia region I have 3 availability zones. I'm just drawing 3 availability zones, 1-A, 1-C, and 1-D. I'm just drawing only 3. You know, in Virginia there are 5 availability zones, but I'm just drawing only 3. And I have a EBS store here, and in this EBS store I have this 15 gig volume, okay, which was attached to our server 002. So 15 gig, and let's say this is the 30 gig. So this is the 15 gig volume, and this is the 30 gig volume. They both are attached to this server. Everybody agree on that so far? This picture?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we didn't learn about S3 so far, but I'm going to talk about S3, and I told you when you take a snapshot, the snapshots are actually stored in S3. S3 is a service, a storage-based, object-based storage service Amazon is providing. S3 has its own redundancy. It replicates between multiple availability zones. So S3 is available from all the availability zones in that region. Okay, this S3 cannot be seen from Oregon or anything. If it is in Virginia, only Virginia can see that. All the availability zones in Virginia can see that S3. So when I took the snapshot of that 15 gig, actually what was the amount that was used in this 15 gig? How much data was on 15 gig? Only 52 MB. Okay, 52 MB, correct? 52 MB was the real data that was used. So when I take a snapshot, what Amazon do is they compress this thing and then they put that into this S3 bucket. And this size of that file is how much? Maybe 55 MB or something. Let's just assume that it is 55 MB. So that is that volume, it is sitting here. So even though you see in the picture, in the nice picture, you will see everything here. It says a snapshot and 15 gig and all. Whatever you are seeing here is actually sitting where?
In S3.
In S3. Okay. So that is what you really need to understand. Snapshots are always sitting in S3. Okay. It is sitting in S3. Now, it is not, so Amazon has some kind of a backplane. When I say backplane, they have some kind of a backend connection to S3, and that is why when you do snapshots, it goes. So now I said it is in S3. So if you go to S3, do you see that? You should see it, correct? That is what everybody expects. Okay, I put it in S3. My snapshots are in S3. So can I see it in S3? Now, if you go to S3, so I have S3 in my region. So I'm going to my S3 bucket. If I go to S3, Actually speaking, I have a couple of buckets, but believe me, you will not be able to find that snapshot in any of these folders, because the answer is this: snapshots are stored in S3, but it is not visible in this S3 interface or in S3 console. The only way to see snapshots are through the snapshots section here, and it will be showing like this, but actually this data is sitting in S3, but you will not be able to see that from S3. So Amazon has some kind of a backend connectivity and they are storing in S3. So if you
We
go
can
here,
never find out. I'm sorry. We can never find out how much the size of the snapshot is.
you cannot find out from here, but there is. That is what I'm coming to. So if you go to your billing dashboard and you go to your bills, so you can see that my bill is slowly getting up now. So if you go to your bill and if you go here in the Elastic Compute Cloud, it is all part of EC2. You can see your Elastic Compute thing and all, and you come here. You can see the EBS charges. Okay. When it comes to EBS charge size, and then you come down here, you can see here again, snapshots are also stored. You see here, EBS snapshots per unit. So I am having 7.471 gigabyte of data. You say I'm charging 37 cents, they're charging. So this is the only place where you can, it will tell you how much of your snapshot data is there. So I have 7.471 gigabyte of snapshot data is there in my volume according to this billing thing. But I know it is showing because it is again charged on a monthly basis. I have deleted quite some data before the start of this class. That is why I'm seeing 7.41. But actually speaking, I may have only a very fraction of it now because I deleted most of my snapshots last week. But this is the place. So if you want to know how much of snapshots you're using, this is the place you want to know. But you will not be able to, but you can probably guess it. You can guess it by looking at the snapshots. If you go to the snapshots here, if you know that this volume 15 gig is completely, let's say this 15 gig is full, and your snapshot is going to be almost 50. It's actual data, but it is still compressed. I think they do around 3:4 ratio for compression. So they do some compression and all, but it is sitting in the S3 volume. Is that clear for everybody?
Yes, sir.
So now I have a snapshot here. Okay. I took a snapshot of my D drive. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you something interesting here now. I'm going to the D drive. I'm going to create a new folder now called test123. Okay. I created a folder called test123. I'm going to create a file inside that called test.txt, and I'm closing that. Now tell me, my snapshot has the test123 or not?
Yes.
No. Does my snapshot has test123 or not?
No.
No, no, no.
Don't they? Okay. So I'm going to do is I'm going to take one more snapshot now. I'm going to the volume. This is the volume. I'm going to take another snapshot now. I'm going to say D drive second snap, just for our thing. Again, time is running out, so I'm just putting it. So D drive second snap
No.
after creating folder test123, correct? I'm creating that snapshot. So how many snapshots now I have?
Two.
I have two snapshots of the same volume, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So Amazon also do some internally in the backend. They do only deltas, So actually speaking, can anybody think of it? Is this snapshot is bigger or no? Now I'm going to the snapshots folder. So we'll see that the second snapshot is, so both are created. This is the first one and this is the second one. Can you tell me, so they both say 15 gig each. Actually in S3, they both are sitting in S3, correct? Can anybody tell me which one will be bigger? Which snapshot
The
will be
second
bigger?
one. The second one you created.
Second one.
The second one should be smaller.
No, no,
The
second one
actual
should be
answer
bigger.
is the second one will be smaller because the second one will only have the delta changes from the first one. Amazon has some kind of a way they can link it. So when they know that, okay, this drive has another thing. So every time they snapshot, they don't take the full snapshot. They know that, okay, I have a snapshot 2 minutes back. Now after 2 minutes, this is the new changes. So only the changes will be snapshotted. So actually speaking, the answer is this second drive will be smaller. Sorry, the second snapshot will be smaller in size compared to the first one. Okay. And now we're going to see the interesting thing. I am going to the volumes and this is the D drive. And this time I am going to detach this volume first, because you have to, if you want to delete that volume, you have to detach it. You can, a volume that is attached, you cannot delete it. You see that delete is turned off. You can only detach it. You can force detach and all. So what I'm doing now is we are detaching that drive. It is detached now, correct? And now what I'm going to do is, so I only detached it. That means the data is there, everything is there. But what I'm going to do now is a more dangerous thing, and I'm going to delete that volume. And I deleted that volume. So that is gone. Now can you get it? It's gone.
Yes.
Okay. Now you cannot attach it. There is only way you can get that data is from where?
Snapshot.
The snapshot. So let's see how we can get that from the snapshot. So I'm going to the snapshots. I'm going to our first snapshot. Now you cannot attach a snapshot to an instance. A snapshot is not a volume. A snapshot is sitting in the S3 volume. So first thing you need to do is you have to create a volume from that snapshot. Again, you have to create a volume from the snapshot. That is the first step you need to do. So when you create a snapshot, so this is sitting in S3, correct? This is sitting in S3. Is S3 available to all availability zones?
Yes.
Okay. So when you create a volume, you have a choice to create it in any availability zone. So if you want to attach it to server 2, which availability zone you need to create, you need to find out that. Okay. It should be in 1-D. Then only I can attach it to server 002, correct? So when I create a volume from here, I'm going to create a volume. So here, now somebody asked me, can you extend it? The actual drive was 15 gig. I can make it a 20 gig now, or I can make it a 10 gig now. All I care is the data. So I'm going to downsize it now. Look at it. I'm going to create a 10 gig volume from that snapshot. I can do a provisioned IOPS, I can do a magnetic, I can do everything, but I'm not going to do that. You guys can try it. Okay, so you can only, it's you cannot reduce it here. There is another way to do it. I'll show you that. So it is saying 15, but I can make it 20 gig. I can make it a bigger drive. So I'm expanding it. Or I can do 15 gig itself, that is the size. I'm going to click create means it's a problem. What is the problem? If I click create, can I attach it to the server too? Can anybody tell me? If I click create now.
The availability is
Not in the
Correct. So make sure you create that volume in 1-D and then create that volume. So I'm creating a volume from that. Now let's go to that volume. You can see that it is creating a volume. It did created this volume. So that volume don't have anything. So I'm going to create it as, server 002-D-drive. I'm naming it. It is 15 gig. And now I'm going to attach it to our instance. Attach it. So now if you go to the server, you can see that the drive is back. Okay. Let me just make sure it is attached correctly. Now the biggest question is, will this drive will have the second folder?
No.
Let's see. It does not. It only has class 10 folder there. If you want the other thing, what you should have done, if I wanted the second folder also, what I should have done?
That's the other snapshot.
Do I need to create both?
The volume snapshot.
All I need is to go to the snapshot, create a snapshot from the second one, which would have had all the things, correct? So it is a practice I have seen companies, because it's only delta, so don't think that every snapshot is a big snapshot. No, every snapshot of a subsequent volume is deltas, so you don't have to worry about it. There is some way Amazon will track that. So you will not lose any data and things like that. So play around with it, try it out. I hope you all understand what is snapshot. You can do snapshots and you can attach it back. Okay, this is how you create snapshot. This is how you attach it. Is this clear for everybody? So I think you should definitely try. I would say, don't try this with a root drive, so always create a second drive and try. If you do a root drive, it can create some problems, especially in Windows servers. Root drives can create problems. If you delete a root drive, it will be a problem. So don't do that. I will give you some documentation on that at a later point of the class. If you are only a C drive and you delete that C drive and you have a snapshot, I know you can take a snapshot of C drive, but when you try to attach, you might encounter some problem. Linux won't have the problem, but Windows servers do have some signature problems. When I talk about backup software, I will explain that. But if you want to practice, I would strongly recommend to create a second drive, a D drive or an E drive, and play around with that drive. Don't play around with the root drive, because once you create a volume, from that volume, it will be a problem. How often, somebody is asking, how often do we take snapshots? Abhishek, we take snapshots pretty much every 24 hours. That is our backup policy. Most companies do backups once in every 24 hours. So we do take snapshots every 24 hours, but it is up to you how, it's called as so there is a terminology in in the cloud world, something called as RPO. There is two major things. One is called RPO and another one is called as RTO. Anybody know these two terminologies, RPO and RTO? Very, very, very important terms. I would say go and do a Google search and try to find out what is RPO and what is RTO. RTO stands for Recovery Time Objective. That means how much time it will take to recover a server or recover a hard disk or recover something. That is called Recovery Time Objective. In disaster recovery, these two terminologies have very big significance. RTO stands for Recovery Time Objective and RPO stands for Recovery Point Objective. At what point you want to go back? If you have so I have a snapshot at 1 a.m. Okay, I have a snapshot of my server at 1 a.m. and after 1 a.m. the server is still working. There are more data is getting added to the server. Around 8 a.m. in the morning, I lost that server. Do I get the data that is between 1 a.m. and 8 a.m. from my snapshot or not?
No.
I will lose all the data between 1 a.m. and 8 a.m. because my latest snapshot is 1 a.m. So if your RPO is 1 hour, then you need to take snapshots every 1 hour. If your RPO is 24 hours, that is your business has to decide, okay, how much data you can lose. Now, those who know databases and all know the importance of this much more. For application servers and web servers and all, I think a 24-hour RPO is very, very common. But you can snapshots every minute, every 5 minutes, every hour, it all up to you. Now, somebody is asking me a question, can we schedule it? Absolutely. There are some softwares, there are some companies do that. I will quickly talk about that. I want to finish off this today, guys. I'm just rushing.
One more question I have.
No,
Sorry.
hold on. Let me finish this. So, um, there's a company called Skedley. Skedley is a company. They do a lot of Amazon based automation. So this is, I think, initially they are free or something. Go try to do that. They do some DevOps automations. They do some. You can schedule backups. So actually, Skedley do have snapshots and images. You can actually schedule it with that. You can do this image. So I think it's a good idea to read these things. So I will send you this chat window, this company's site also, Skedley, automatic snapshots and images. So you can take images. We are going to learn images now in a minute. That is called AMIs. Automatic snapshots can be scheduled done using these kind of third parties. But Amazon by itself do not have any scheduling software. Okay. A couple more questions. I know somebody wanted to, let me just go through. How do we recognize which snapshot belongs to which file or which data? That is only by description, and we gave. Yes, you have to tag it. That is where it's very important. When you take snapshots, it is very important to tag it. But when you use third-party softwares like CPM or things like that, you may want to, those softwares will automatically tag it. Now, I wanted to tell you about another company called N2W. This is a Israel-based company. N2W, very, very famous, one of the key partners of Amazon. In fact, in my business company, we actually started using CPM for quite some time, and then later we changed to Commvault, but it is an enterprise product. I will put this website in the chat window here. Save it. Please go and read about it. They have this a beautiful site, and the price is also comparative. They have a lot of products, Cloud Protection Manager, N2W CPM, that is called as CPM, Cloud Protection Manager. It is a very powerful software you can use to back up an image all your EC2 instances and volumes and recover them. When you do these kind of softwares, necessarily, just to your question, you don't have to worry about tagging and things like that, because the software know automatically. It works pretty much like a normal backup software. It do everything that is needed. It do the restores. You don't have to do all these manual steps. Everything will be automatically done with this. They do have a pretty much nice blog where they talk about a lot of things. I told you about a Windows Server problem. If you have a root drive and you have problems, I think one of this blog talk about that. If I can find that out, I will. I think in the documentation, I think it is there. Where is it? I don't know. There is some. If I can find that, I will definitely share with you. But there is a. Okay, here it is. 3 ways for EC2. This is a good one. Read this. This is the one exactly. This one tell you Linux versus Windows. What's the difference? Approaches for Windows instance recovery. How you can do that. You recover from attached. So what your problems with Windows issues, Windows C drive issues, root drive issues. Windows C drive. You may have problems, so you may want to look at, but N2W has solution for that, so you don't have to worry about it. But if you are doing snapshots like what we do manually, you have to be careful. Okay.
One question regarding snapshot.
Yeah.
Okay. So you say like we took the 2 snapshot, right? So by accident you delete the first one, for example. What's going to happen? Because the second one is the delta only.
Yeah. Let's try that. So this is the D drive. Attach the instance, detaching it.
No, the snapshot. If you
Yeah, I know. But we have to delete
okay.
and try test it, right? We'll see that, right? So. Who is that?
Kashif.
Okay, good. That's a very good question. Excellent question, I would say. So I detach the drive and I'm actually deleting that volume. So everybody understand what he's asking? I told you the second snapshot is only having the delta. So what he's saying is we're going to lose, I'm going to delete this first parent snapshot or whatever we say, the parent snapshot, and I deleted that. So now if I create a volume from the second snapshot, will it have the first folder? That is what his question is. So let's see. So I'm going to create a volume from that in the D area, and I'm creating a volume. I'm going back here. It is creating that volume, and we will attach it and see whether we'll see the folder or not. Correct? This was your question, correct, Kashif?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
All right. So let's see. Okay, so I'm going to put it as server 002-D-drive, and we're going to attach it to the instance. Okay, so we go back here. We'll refresh this. Just wanted to do a rescan one more time just to make sure it is attached and all. Okay, and I'm going to open it. I see both. So Amazon has a way to track that. You know, it knows the parent is gone, but it still keeps that. But you know, they have some mechanism to do that. That these are things that they won't reveal to our, you know, as an end user. But answer to that is your data is not lost, even if you're thinking. And that was a very, very good question, because we told it is only the delta, correct? If it is only the delta, and when you delete the parent, you know, you end up just with the delta. And how do you get the root back? So you do get the root back, and you can see that the thing is there. So Amazon manages that. It knows when it deletes the other one, it has a way to preserve the actual data. Okay?
All right, thank you.
Guys, everybody understand what we did? Can I get a yes or no from everybody, please?
Yes.
What we did now, did you understand?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so that is snapshots. So now one more thing I want to talk about is, so please, you know, guys, you know, 10:47, I might take another 10 minutes or 15 minutes. I want to finish off this, okay, because we want to start VPC and other things tomorrow. I cannot, you know, this is 3 days is a little too much for EC2. But still, you know, it's very important to understand all these things, and that's why I'm going through every step here. So please look at Schedly if you want to do automation of something. You know, it's not that costly. If your company is starting, and you know, you can definitely recommend this to your. And these are not things that I just found. You know, I always talk with AWS architects and my account rep, and you know, we have a weekly status meetings and all. And these meetings, they recommend us these kind of partners, and then we pick and choose what to do. So these are proven products and are having a good collaboration and relationship with Amazon. So, you know, you can confidently go and use that. You know, you can see that 12.4 million snapshot event created using Schedly. N2W is another great company. They are very good partners of Amazon. Their appliances are available in Amazon. You can deploy them and do it. There is a lot of things. It's a very powerful software, very, very powerful. And I would say, I think it kind of works better than any other enterprise level backup softwares. In Amazon, I would say CPM is definitely a good product. So next thing what we want to talk about is one more thing is actually AMIs. How do you create your own AMI? Okay, so here is what it is, and this is very important. I'm taking another 15 minutes and we will go back here. So an AMI is called Amazon Mission Image, and I want to create my own AMI. I don't want to go with the key pair and all that thing. So I have this Windows server. So just imagine this is what how do I create an AMI? AMI is very similar to a VMware template. So I'm going to create my own AMI. So going forward, when I want to deploy a Windows Server 2016, I will not go to Amazon's thing and select that AMI that we do. You know, normally when if you want to deploy a new Windows 2012 instance, what you do? You go here, click Launch Instance, and you come down and you pick this Microsoft Windows Server base thing, and then that is how you do it. This is an AMI, but this is who provided this, who created this AMI? Amazon created, right? But I want to have my own AMI. I want to have my own AMI. So I am going to create my own AMI, and my AMI should have 2 drives. When I deploy it, I should have 2 drives. That is my thing. So what I do is you first create an instance and then you customize it the way you want. So I'm going to say, you know what, my AMI in the C drive, I should have a folder called programs, software. I also wanted to have a folder called logs. I wanted it like that. The logs is already there. So I wanted to create a folder called, you know, Bank of America dash logs. I'm just creating a folder called. This is all I wanted. All my Windows servers. And let's say you all are working, you know, Ali, Abhishek, Anudeep, you guys are all working in my company and you're all Amazon admins. I don't want you guys, this is normally, you know, an Amazon architect will be doing something like this or creating an AMI. But I want, you're all working in my team. I want you guys to deploy Windows servers for our organization in different regions, in different places. But I don't want you to go to Amazon's template because that template may have some stuff. But I wanted you guys to use our company's template. Our company's template will have this thing. It may have custom registry settings. It may have different softwares. I am not installing any software. You know, for example, I can actually probably go and install in Windows. How do we do that? I don't know, in 2016, how do we do that? You know, to turn Windows features on and off. So I'm going to here, I wanted to actually add roles in my Windows server. I want to have a role, you know, this is Windows server. I want to have a particular role called, you know, not this one, where is it? I wanted to show you. I want to have TFTP client, the Telnet client on all my Windows servers. By default, Windows do not have Telnet client. I want Telnet client on all my things. So I'm installing Telnet client. Okay, it is installing. Okay, I'm done with the installation. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to the computer management. I want to change the password and also basically what I'm going to do is look here. I'm going to create a new user and this user's name is called admin. Okay. And I'm giving a password of welcome22. Welcome22. Remember this, okay? The password. And I'm creating a user called welcome admin and I'm making this admin user an administrator in Windows Server. So I'm making him an administrator by adding this user admin to administrators group. So now I have 2 administrators actually in this server. Administrator, the actual administrator that has the password, and then admin. And this password, I don't know, but we use this password using the key pair, correct? And this is the other admin, I used it. I just created my user. I don't have time today, but I will explain a little bit more thing on this later. There is actually a a topic that we need to cover actually in program files, Amazon, SSM. Now they changed that a little bit. Where is that? Common files. Okay, I need to find that. This is something they changed. They just recently added something called as the SSM agent. I will find out. I know that SSM agent was there, but I think they removed a major component called EC2 config. It should be here. They cannot remove EC2 config.
A program 86 file, maybe?
No. Oh, I think in 2016 they don't have EC2 config. 2016 do not have that. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. So what we did is we create, just imagine I customized my machine. I have C drive. I've installed some software. Everything is done, and I'm clean. I can change the desktop the way I want. I can do a lot of things. I can adjust the time zone. I can do many things, and I am happy with it. I wanted all of you guys to, going forward, deploy Windows servers like this, so that when you deploy a Windows server, it will have a folder called Bank of America _ software, and then it will have a D drive that has class 10 and thing, and then it will have a telnet and everything should be there. If you deploy from Amazon's AMI, you will not get those things. So we want our company startup. So I'm actually done with it, and I'm going to shut down this, and it should be a clean. You can do an image when the VM is running also, but it is not a clean. So I'm shutting down the machine properly. So let's go and make sure that our instance, the instance that we created is shut down. So this is done, and now I'm going to make an image out of it. Creating an image of a instance is called an AMI, or Amazon machine image is what I'm going to create. It is equivalent to a snapshot, equivalent to a template in VMware. Okay, so it is stopping. Let it finish, and then we'll create an image. Images are not snapshots. It is a full image, a clone. It is actually a cloning. I'm actually going to clone this server, and that clone is actually sitting in EBS only. It is not stored in S3 or anything. Okay, so it is done. So now I'm going to right click on the server. Now I'm going to create an image. You can see that there is something called as create image. I'm going to call it as a, let's call it as class 10 Windows 2016 dash base image. Okay, that is the name of the image. You see that it has 2 drives. If you want a delete on termination for both, I am selecting that. You can do encryption or whatever, all that things are there, 15 gig drives. If you want, I can reduce the size of this now, but I don't want. I wanted exactly the same thing, and I click create. It was 15. I think I typed it wrong. Okay, click image, and now an image request is done. And now if you go to the AMIs, you can see that a new, we have to delete all these things. And you go to the owned by me, because this is an image that I am creating, and you can see that it is creating an image right now. So when you create an image, I think it creates snapshots. Okay, I think yes, it creates a snapshot. An image is actually a snapshot. It's not on the volume. It's actually sitting on the back end. The disks are actually snapshotted. So you can see that an AMI is creating. Let it create, and then we will do one more thing, and then we'll finish it up. Okay? I'll need 10 more minutes from everybody. It will be fast. So basically what it is doing now is it is actually cloning that Windows server, the exact copy it is making with that folders, with that telnet, everything. Now you guys can all deploy from that. How many of you know Windows here in this class pretty good? How many of you are Windows administrators, or at least have some good idea about Windows servers? Just to know, please say yes or no. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay. So in Windows there is a concept called Sysprep. Now all these guys who said Windows, you know Windows, do you know what a Sysprep is? Sysprep. Okay, so Kashif says he knows Sysprep. What is Sysprep, Kashif? Tell me.
After you create the the custom machine, then you run the Sysprep. So what it does, it just take out the like a computer name and other information, right? It just create the copy to deploy, right?
Okay. Yeah, Sysprep actually do customization for your thing, because the server that we image. Okay, everybody's thing I just want to tell you. When you create a Windows server, by default, Microsoft has some kind of a technique where every machine will have a SID. It is called a SID, security identifier. It is a hexadecimal number, a big number, SID. So I have a server which is server 002. Let's say the SID of that is 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what I did is I made an image or a clone of it. That clone will also have a SID of what? 1, 2, 3, 4. Because a clone is a clone. You know about the dolly, the goat, sheep, right? Cloning means exactly same. That is what a clone is. A clone cannot have anything. When you're saying I'm going to clone something, it is an exact copy is what a clone is. So when I clone or when I image it, this image has it. Now you are going to deploy an instance from this image. Correct? So this server also has a name called ABC. So when you deploy this, what will be the name of this new server? ABC. What will be the SID of this new server? 1, 2, 3, 4. Correct? So you created one. Now Stanley came and he also created a server from that AMI. What will be the name of this server? ABC. What will be the SID of this? 1, 2, 3, 4. So if everybody is going to do the same thing in an Active Directory environment, you're going to have problem. You can change the name of it, but you cannot simply change the SID of a server. You can always change the name, but every server will have the same SID, and there is a very important problem in Windows called a SID conflict. So SID conflict can happen, and it can create drastic problems or issues, connection issues, disconnects, and a lot of issues are there, can happen in a world. So when I deploy from that AMI, I wanted to make sure that every time I deploy a new instance from my AMI, it should create a new SID. First one, it should be XYC 7895. The other one should be 6342, like that. To do that, Microsoft has a tool called Sysprep. So Kashif, you are partially correct, but the answer is Sysprep is a configuration tool, or a, you customize, not configuration, it's a customization tool. You can use Sysprep to customize your images and all. So that is there, and that is what I was looking for to show you, but unfortunately I couldn't find that, and I will find an answer for it. I think it's a Windows 2016 does not support Sysprep, that's why we don't see that. Anyway, we will address that later. So I hope
Usually, Sysprep will be in the system 32 folder.
no, that is there, but there is a tool called EC2 config, and that tool is the one that Amazon used to do that. I know Sysprep is there. That is not the Sysprep that it uses, Stanley. So
Okay.
The window PE and the
yeah, I'm sure it is missing somewhere. So because they changed one of the EC2, I need to talk about those products, EC2 config and SSM agent and PV driver. There are some stuff we need to talk about instances, but we'll address that later. Anyway, so we created this AMI now. So look here, owned by me. Public images are different. Owned by me or private images, that is what you're thinking. See, I have a couple of private images here. So this is the image that we just created, class 10 Windows 2016 base image. Okay. So now we go into the instances. I'm going to launch a new instance. Am I going to select a Windows from here, or I'm going to use my AMIs? So I'll go to my AMIs. You see here, class 10 Windows 2016 base image. This is the image that we just created, correct? We'll select that. We can go with free tier, no problems. You can select all these things you want. I'm going to class 9 VPC, I'm going to the class 9 public subnet, I'm going to say I need IP address, storage. You see that automatically it has 2 storage. Both are delete on termination. Let's call it as server 003 security group. I'm going to select the same security group, review and launch, Here is the question. Do I need a key pair or not? Every time you connect a Windows server, you need a key pair, but I'm going to say this time, proceed without a key pair. I'm saying that I don't need a key pair because I know the password of that user, because we have a user called admin and we know the password of it, right? I'm going to launch the instance. You see that? This is why I told you, you don't need key pair all the time, but initially when you're learning, you need it. But now you have your own AMI, you know the password of it. Do you really need a key pair? You don't need it, correct? So let's go and look at it. So we are deploying a new server. This is the new server, and you see here, if you come to the key pair, there is nothing here. So can I log into this server without a key pair?
yes.
Okay, let's see. So that is image, that is AMIs. Okay, I hope you all are getting what I'm talking. I was little fast because some of you said also I had to go a little fast. And not only that, I think we are taking little longer than normal. That's why I'm just moving faster. So I hope everybody is catching. But if you don't understand these things, please come back. Okay. So I'm waiting now for the status check to come 2 out of 2 to connect. If you actually look at now the instance go screenshot, you can see that the server is booting. See here, it's not refreshing, but if you refresh it, you can see that the server is slowly coming up. You can these are screenshots only; they are not real thing. You look at the dot, you can see that dots are changing at least. See, now the dot is changing. So there is changes happening. See here, it is rotating, and it will boot. See. These are not real thing, but it is actually the real screenshot from the console. And that's a new feature that Amazon added. At least that way I know that my server is booting. Right, so let's just give 5 more minutes, guys. 5 more minutes only I'll take. All I need is to make sure that I can log into that server, and we will see the changes that we made and that's it. Okay. Is it clear for everybody? Are you guys following me?
Yes.
Good. Oh, I forgot to also tell you, we have 28 people. I think some of you left. All right. So I wanted to show you something here. Next week, not this week. This week we'll have class every day. Okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday we'll have class. The first week of February, Wednesday, which is February 1st, and Thursday, which is February 2nd, there is no class. So if anybody wants to plan something, actually today 2 or 3 people called me and said they cannot make it to the class. I understand it's a Sunday evening. They have, some of you guys may be watching the football games, but I just want to tell you, next week, that is February 1st and 2nd, which is a Wednesday and Thursday, there is no class. Actually, I will be out of station. I have a couple of my friends coming and we will be out of town. So there is no class on Wednesday and Thursday next week. That means next week we have class only on Sunday, Monday and Tuesday. Okay. So if anybody wants to plan something, please do that next week. Not this week. This week we have class every 5 days. Okay. All 5 days. Now, today I think we covered some very important topic, maybe one of the most important topics from an instance perspective, imaging, snapshotting, volumes, and different type of volumes. So if you have any questions, please read this, and if possible, tomorrow's class, come back with some questions if you have. Okay. I also practice this, just listening to my class and looking at it, you found it very easy, but when you take the mouse and really start doing it, that is when you see the thing that you miss. Oh, how do I do this? How do I do that? You're saying problem. Okay, so let's see. There is some problems here. I think the instance is not booting. Let's see where they are. Okay, it's coming up. Okay. So now I know the IP address. Let's see whether we can ping that guy. If the server is up, we should be able to ping it. Okay, it's still not pinging. Let's see the security group here. Let's see whether it has a ICMP. It's okay, available, so it should work. It's still not pinging.
I think you had a firewall issue last time.
But our instance didn't have the firewall, right? So we should not have problem.
Oh, okay.
Now we imaged a box without having issue, correct?
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so there should not be, and it is still initializing. Here there is some problem is there actually. It is still not up for some reason. Even though the box is up, here it says, sometimes we may have to reboot one more time. It shows that the server is up, but the instance, it's okay, now it is up. Let's see, it's pinging now. It is still not pinging. Now I need to find out what is the subnet it is, subnet ID. Hold on 1 second, guys. Okay, there is, I would have put it in a wrong subnet. Then it is a problem. We will learn that things later. Now you may not understand what I'm talking about. Okay, it's a public subnet. Okay, so that's all look good. See, my dog started barking. He know the timing, okay? He's perfect. 11 o'clock, I'm still up, not up. They are very smart. Every day I finish the class, I'll take him out. So he know that, he's just sitting there. He was quiet all this time. Okay, so there is some problem here anyway. So we'll fix this tomorrow. I think I need to find out. So I'm going to try to connect. Let's see if we can RDP to that server. That's what I'm trying. 54.88.81.153. Let's see it connect. Okay, it is connecting. Pinging is not working. So how do I log in now? I don't have a keep here. What should I use?
Admin.
Admin, and the password is welcome22. And I'm going to see the same name, okay, because we didn't do Sysprep. Let's see. Okay, now I'm logging into the server. Okay, give me one more minute, guys, 5 minutes. So I'm logging in as admin. Now I can log in, I can customize the users. I could have deleted the administrator itself or renamed the administrator and put it a different name and things like that. You could do a lot of things. If you're a good Windows admin, you know what to do then. Just give me 2 more minutes, okay? All right, so this server, if I go to Windows server,
File Explorer.
yeah, it was loading. So we're going to have a C drive and a D drive, okay, that we see already. And in the D drive, we have our folders. You see that? I just deployed my own AMI. I go to the C drive, you will see the software folder. You will see the Bureau of Logs. If you go here and you will, I'm not taking time, but you will also see your telnet and everything. So is this clear for everybody? So this is how you deploy your own. Now every time in our class, when we deploy a Windows server, are we going to use Amazon provided AMI or are we going to use our own AMI?
Our own.
We will use our own AMI because that way we know what it is, what's the properties and things like that, correct? So that's how it is. So you can see, you know how to create your own AMIs. You can see here private image owned by me or whatever. You can customize. Public images are where Amazon provided things. So if you're going for a launching an instance, you click on launch instances and then don't go here and pick anything or don't go to community AMIs or anything. Go to my AMIs where you can see your custom created AMI and then you can do it. Then you can customize it the way you want. Okay. So that's it, guys, and thank you very much. I'm stopping, and thank you for the patience of sitting for a little longer. I know it's little stretching for everybody. All right, thanks. I know I didn't send the last class video also. I didn't get time, but I will upload that hopefully by tomorrow. Okay. And
Deepu, aren't you teaching 7 days this week?
No, not 7 days. Only Sunday to Thursday. No
because
Friday.
the mail you sent was, it was scheduled like that every day this week.
Where is it?
Just check it out, the mail you will.
Yeah, I'll be modifying. Let me see one thing. Hold on. Today is what, 22nd, right? Yeah, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 20, yeah. I'll modify that. Thanks, man. That's how I do mistake. This is all initially, the classes, the timings are also not correct, okay? It says 18 times and we will change it accordingly. I don't follow those things, just I want to finish it out, that's it. So how many hours it takes doesn't matter. But, there is definitely no class on Fridays and Saturdays, at least at this point. No plans.